Today, on In the Closet, we have Mychal Schulz.
Right. I would say he's a guest, but I mean, he's not. He's on here
All the time.
all the time.
He's a regular.
He is a regular, but he's feeling a little bit under the weather because he has the Rona.
He does.
So he's at home, and we're doing it by phone, which is the first time doing it with our new equipment. So we're excited to have Mychal join us via telephone.
So when we kick it off here and we're just talking about COVID, don't worry. We're going to get into it.
Yes. All right, here we go.
But the most disconcerting thing is I've lost all sense of taste and smell.
Oh, no.
That's bad for bourbon night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
And actually, right before you called, I was researching what the latest data is and studies are as to how long this lasts.
What'd you find out?
You know, it's all a matter of percentages.
Yeah.
Usually, for the majority of people, it comes back within 21 days.
Right.
And for over 75%, it comes back within 30 days.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of days.
That's a lot of days, and it's also, a not insubstantial number of people for whom it is longer than that.
Right. My brother had it, and he did not lose his sense of taste, but he lost his sense of smell. And I didn't ask him how long it took to get it back. And then I had a friend whose son lost both, and he got his smell back before his taste, and his taste came back like slowly. Like he started being able to taste certain things like ranch, and like it just slowly came back like that. It's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's probably different for everybody.
I think I lost it Thursday.
Oh, man. I had that happen to me once. I lost my sense of taste for no reason. It was way before the Rona. It was like
You had the Rona way before the
I had
Rona
it first. No.
existed.
No, I had. It was back when we lived in Atlanta, and like we don't know what happened, and like they were getting ready to do like brain scans and stuff because like I totally could not. Like I hate pickles, and
We were just feeding her stuff.
Yeah, just to test it, I like took a bite of a pickle, and I'm like, I taste nothing. So I kind of know how you feel, and it does kind of stink, but
The tasting part.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and Jeff, I talked to you on Friday, right?
Yes.
Look, the last 40 hours have been a little bit of a blur.
They're probably running together, I would say.
Well, yeah. Because if you remember, I got both the rapid and the regular test.
Right.
And the regular test did come back yesterday positive,
Yeah.
which was not a surprise.
Right.
But I went ahead and I did, for the first time ever, I did the Kroger Click It
Yeah.
program, the pickup. So, I got $100 worth of groceries
Oh, that's nice.
Pretty
that
easy.
are more or less useless to me.
Oh, right, because you can't taste it.
It all tastes like cardboard.
You have to just eat it just
That's
to
awful.
feed yourself, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I have to just force myself to feed myself because, like, I can vaguely feel hungry,
Right.
and I'm like, I need to not eat.
Right.
So I'll eat, even though it's like, okay, I can tell this is crunchy.
Right.
Beyond that, I had Pop-Tarts this morning. It's like, yeah, I am eating cardboard.
Oh,
Yes,
my
that's
gosh,
awful to eat a
crazy.
Pop-Tart and not enjoy it.
I know, right? Oh.
Well, and then I was eating I had some French onion dip with some rosemary and sea salts Triscuits, which is pretty pungent.
Right.
Nothing.
Wow. I know.
Like, okay.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And Jeff, to your point, obviously I'm not drinking any alcohol, number one, because I shouldn't want him sick.
Right.
But also, what a freaking waste of money.
It would be a waste of money.
That's the truth.
Seriously.
Freaking
I mean,
sip
even
on
like
some
the-
delicious bourbon and expensive bourbon. Forget it being delicious. Expensive bourbon, and like you
Can't even
can't
taste it.
enjoy it at all.
Well,
You can get
could
drunk
probably
quick.
I could probably go get some $10 a bottle bourbon at this point and go, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is tolerable.
It did give you the same result. Just probably eat your insides.
Right.
Exactly.
What if the next conspiracy theory, Jeff? What if the next virus that they release to the public, the government releases to the public, makes you not be able to feel your genitals.
Oh, that would be terrible.
Okay, that presupposes a first virus that has been released into the wild by the government. Remember, I need to point that out.
Well, I guess you caught that part of it.
Oh goodness.
I'm just.
That's a whole
I'm
nother
kidding,
podcast
but it's fun
that
to talk about.
Angie's not involved in because I have my own theories. But
Yeah.
But what are we here for? We are here to talk about
The naked people in front of the kids.
right.
Is that
So that was like how many podcasts ago was that we did we
3?
Okay, so are you 3?
I think
I
I
Are
put
you
up.
serious?
I think I put up 2 after that.
Oh,
I've just
no.
put up 1 today though. So. And just anticipating a sneeze.
I thought I was going to sneeze, but it's gone. Okay, so the television show in what did I say? The Netherlands? Is that what I said?
Netherlands.
I don't have it.
Wales,
I don't-
something somewhere.
Anyway, and
It was.
Europe.
I wish we should have sent Mychal the video to watch
Oh, I should have.
because it hit me different after I watched.
What do you mean it hit you different?
It hit me different watching these weird, old, ugly people that are nastily naked walking in and derobing in front of a room full of children.
Okay, so three episodes ago, we talked about this show that was released. I might be wrong, but in the Netherlands, somewhere like that, where there's kids sitting in the audience. It's a television show, and there's actually a host, and the kids, which are I would say 10 to maybe 12 years old, sitting in the audience, and 6 or 7 adult male and females come in. They're kind of up on a stage, and simultaneously they drop their robes, and it's to try to promote body image and to show these kids that, you know, all bodies are different and let them ask any questions that they want, but no sexual questions, of course, they say. So Jeff and I were talking about how
Which is unfair.
We were a little bit taken back by it, almost like I would never allow my child to be in a situation like that. But there are people who commented underneath this video that it's just different there, and these kids are used to that. So anyway, if go back a couple episodes if you're listening to this now, and listen to that one first and then listen to this one. But anyway, Mychal, who is on this podcast all the time, mainly with Jeff, said he had a different take on it than we did. So we thought we would get him up here on the phone since he's not should not.
He's
be around us.
quarantined.
Right. So
I'm isolated, actually.
you're isolated. It's so crazy, isn't
He's
it?
isolated.
Like we could come to your parking lot and you come out on your patio or your balcony and we could speak to you. But that's about it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about going on onto my balcony and singing like they were doing in Spain and
Yes.
Italy last spring and
Oh, that's right.
summer, and then all of a sudden it just hit me like a thunderbolt. I can't sing.
Oh, well.
So, I thought that
there's-
might not be so good.
Your neighbors might not want you to serenade them as they go to work in the mornings, but
Exactly.
so what is your take on this show? We just gave the preface and you know about it.
Yeah, and not only did I listen to the episode, but I also went and I read an article about the show. And,
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah. And I think when I first was in communication to you about this subject, I told you that I had always felt like I was more European in attitude towards sex and sexuality,
Right.
Right.
which that's the way I describe it. Whether you want to say I'm liberal, progressive, uninhibited, I don't know. I certainly have boundaries.
Yeah.
But in terms of teaching young people, teaching children above a certain age appropriate about sex and sexuality, I think that the Europeans generally get it right.
Okay.
And the European mentality about sex and sexuality are far less, I'm just going to call it repressive, than the typical American view towards sex and sexuality.
Mhm.
And
I
I
agree.
attribute that, and you guys know I'm kind of have a history background. I attribute that to our being American society's puritanical and Protestant roots as a country, going all the way back to Mather Cotton
Right.
Mhm.
in Massachusetts back in the 1600s. We have always as a society, been far more repressive when it comes to sex and sexuality than Europeans.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
which I would say I'm on that side too more. The European side. I think
right.
it's better. Just like their alcohol stance. You know, they're
correct. And
they're able to handle it a little bit better because they're introduced to it.
And so you go to this Dutch television show, and one of the quotes that I saw actually came from a Danish parenting expert.
Mm-hmm.
Because believe it or not, there was also a show similar to this in Denmark, believe it or not, before the Netherlands. And a parenting expert in Denmark, Sophie Munster, said, and this is the quote, Danish parenting generally favors exposing children rather than shielding them.
Right.
And, you know, that's a societal construct or societal attitude towards parenting that I actually agree with. But it is increasingly, I think, not happening in the United States.
Oh, no. I mean,
and I think what's increasingly happening, I think, in this country is, and this is why I don't have a problem with the show. Number one, the parents of those children are making a parental choice. They know what's happening.
Right.
So they are making a choice for their children. Number two, I think that, and this is admittedly a guess, but my guess is that the parents are talking to their children about their experiences before and after going on the show. So I'm in favor of exposing children if you talk to them, engage them about things.
Right.
Right.
Rather than shield them from them and pretend babies come from storks.
Right.
Well, they're getting it from Pornhub.
Well, and that's the biggest problem, I think, in our country is children are getting exposed to things, but there's no discussion about them from parents or any sort of adult figure.
Totally,
and it's not reality.
100% agree with you on that. Like, I mean, you know, we're open with our kids. We talk to our kids. I mean, you know, I'm not open. Like I said on that previous podcast, I'm not open myself into walking around the house barely clothed. I wouldn't even walk around my house in a t-shirt, like in an only t-shirt, even if it comes down past my butt, because I have a son. Like, I just wouldn't. You know what I mean? That's just me.
Right.
And it's not because
you're not European.
I think that a human body, I'm not trying to inhibit my children. That's just me as like a comfort level. My daughters, they walk around like that, and I don't really stop them necessarily unless we're having a guest, you know, because it's just the family in the house. But me, myself, I have always been more of a modest person. You know what I'm saying? But we talk to, I mean, we're very open as well. But would I be comfortable with my kids going to a show like that? No, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't. But I think it's because we're raised, our society is just, like you just said, it's just different.
We're programmed
now,
a little different.
if we lived there, would I have a different stance on it? I don't know, because I can't, you know what I mean? I don't have that mentality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you were born in the United States and you were raised the way that you were raised. And look,
right.
Child rearing in the United States is different than child rearing in the Netherlands, in Germany, in Great Britain, and in every other European country.
Right.
Which is different than child rearing in China, Russia, or Brazil.
I would be curious to see, like, I don't know, maybe you know this, and maybe Jeff knows this. I don't know. I don't know much about this kind of thing. But wonder what the discipline practices are in Europe or something, or you know what I'm saying? You know, we know that, you know, here I feel like in America it's split down the middle. You either spank your kids or you don't. You're either an abuser if you spank them, or you have people on the other side being like, yeah, let them have it, because you know what I mean? But my point is not to debate that issue, but my point is, are even discipline styles different there? You know?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
All I know is I think that, and you Michael, you may know a little bit better, but just like the Netherlands, Amsterdam, they're very loose, which I agree with. I think it creates a much better atmosphere where they have, a lot of things are legal, most everything, and it seems like they have less. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they have less crime, they have less issues.
I think they do.
Than because they're not as repressive, and they let people be adults.
You are correct about Amsterdam. I mean, the red light district in Amsterdam, and I have not been, but I've known a few people who have gone, and I've read about it. The red light district in Amsterdam is just that. Prostitution is legal, drug use is legal, and there is more of an emphasis on treatment and safe use.
Safe use, yeah.
Than prohibition, and certainly there's no criminal prosecution of those who possess or use drugs.
Right.
And so, is there drug addiction? Absolutely, but it's contained. It's contained and it's treated.
Like alcoholism here, where alcohol, there's a prohibition and they broke it and it's illegal, obviously. But
correct.
But we still have alcohol's horrible. It can be horrible if you don't handle it correctly.
It can be horrible, correct.
Just like marijuana, I guess, could be horrible. I guess if you anything can be. But like you said, I think that's the key, is that it's contained.
So the whole point of some of these people with these comments is that these children, it's really nothing new necessarily for them to see this. So my point is, or not my point, but my question is, then why do we need to do the show? If they're used to seeing people walk around kind of nude or very, very scantily dressed or whatever, however you want to put it, then what's the point of, what are we really doing here? If their parents are so open, then what are we doing? If their parents are so open to talking to them, then why do we need to have strangers take their clothes off in front of them?
Twofold. I think the answer is twofold. Number one, just because attitudes are more lax in, say, Denmark or the Netherlands doesn't mean that children, a very large percentage of children, or even gross number of children, are going to nude beaches.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't know, but I would be a little surprised if the weather in Denmark or Netherlands supported a nude beach for a long period of time.
I don't know.
I know they are in the southern part of the continent, in Spain and France and whatnot, but I'm not, or Italy. I'm not so sure about Denmark and the Netherlands. So that's number one. And number two, while your parents may be open and progressive, that doesn't mean that the child is necessarily relaxed enough to ask questions.
So their parents,
that a child might want to ask. What is it? Something About Mary? Was it Something About Mary?
I don't know.
One of the Something About Mary movies, where one of them had parents who were super open and made their adult child super uncomfortable.
I don't remember.
But you can have very open, progressive parents, but that doesn't mean a child is necessarily comfortable asking things like, all right, does that hurt? Your stomach hanging down like that, does that hurt?
Right. When you read that article, did it give any examples of questions that these kids were asking?
It did not.
I'm curious, what they were actually
It did
asking.
not. It did not. And I'm sure that it was initially awkward.
Right.
But, I think back to you guys. Did you guys have sex education in school growing up?
Yeah.
I had a sex education class in a Catholic school in Wisconsin.
Oh, boy.
Growing up. And I got to tell you.
Pretty weak.
Two things. Number one, it was really weak. Really weak. And number two, the questions that were being put on the cards by my class classmates so outstripped the knowledge of the person who was teaching the course.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
wow.
makes sense.
And after a bit, it was like, okay, I have a feeling these questions are being asked to, in essence, embarrass this person.
Right.
Oh, that is
Which
so
isn't
funny.
cool, but
No,
It's
but
normal for that age.
still, I need, and I joke about it, but I got a lot of my sex education, believe it or not, growing up, reading reading Playboy, The Advisor.
you read the articles?
Yes. I know.
You
I
didn't look
know.
at the pictures at all, did you?
Oh, absolutely. I looked at the pictures. You kidding me?
I'm just kidding.
But nonetheless, I found the article, especially The Advisor,
Right.
which was a weekly or every issue. It had advice, and it was very fact oriented. Think
Yeah.
Dr. Drew.
Right.
Right.
It was like, we're going to strip away. It's not going to be titillating.
Right.
It's just, we're going to tell you the facts. And I was a regular
Wow.
through high school and college.
All right.
And that's where I got it. That's not a great scenario, guys.
Right.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I got most of mine just from
me.
Word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like what our friends were talking about, whatever it is. I mean, I really honestly do, and I just like figured it out on my own.
Yeah.
Hey, Ange, if you got all your sex education from Jeff, some men last longer than 32 seconds. I'm just saying.
Hey, that's the first round.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh, don't tell her things like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
My bad.
Whatever. No, but I mean, I don't know. I'm still like, my view of this is still kind of skewed. I don't know. I'm like down the middle. I'm not like my first reaction, like I said in the other podcast, was like, oh my God. Did I think these people were pedophiles or doing anything illegal? No. Did I think it was like abuse? Like some people were saying this is downright abuse. No, I don't. But I also, because I do keep in mind that it is a different country. There's different practices like we just talked about. But at the same time, like we just said, we were brought up here. And it's just, for me, I don't like it. Like I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't let my kids watch it. I wouldn't want any part of it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, to me, it's just too much.
What if someone was like, hey, you want to be on a TV show? Want to be on a TV show? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, strip down. You're going out in front of some
Right,
kids
that's what we said.
naked.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and then even the hosts that had to like audition for that, I'm not going to host that. That would make me so uncomfortable. But that's just me, Angie.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to judge anybody or anything like that, but I'm just telling you from my perspective, it's unnecessary, and there's other ways that you could go about it. But that's just...
the only time I stripped publicly, actually, I was in college. Did I tell you guys this story?
Did you go streaking?
College.
Did you go streaking?
No, I did not. But my girlfriend at the time, I was a senior in college. My girlfriend was an art student. And so they needed a model for a drawing class.
Oh my gosh, did you?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Did you have to stand? Did you sit? Were you relaxed? Like, what in the world?
I stood. It was a 3-hour class.
What?
Good Lord.
And so I had to stand for 55 minutes. Then I had 5 minutes off. 55 minutes, 5 minutes, and then 55 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Guess what? Standing still for 55 minutes is really freaking hard.
Yeah, it is.
So every time you look at
clothes.
a painting, right? But anytime you see a portrait, a painting from like the Middle Ages or the Renaissance, that's an actual portrait.
Mm-hmm.
Have a new appreciation for the subjects, because
No
that's what they
doubt.
did.
Like-
They would sit there for hours upon hours, and sometimes have to come back many days for that. So that's number one. Number two, I got paid $100, which
That's
when
a
I was
lot
in
of
college,
money. Yeah.
Oh,
was
yeah.
a lot of money.
A lot of beer money.
And you were totally naked.
I was naked as a jaybird.
Oh, wow.
And my girlfriend said at first she was like excited about it, but the moment I took the robe off and I was in front of like the whole class in the round, by the way,
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
she decided it wasn't a good idea, but it was too late by then.
Oh, yeah. You're already derobed.
And of course, what's your biggest fear?
What if you were?
Jeff,
Oh,
what's your biggest
Jeff,
fear?
I'm sorry.
What's my biggest fear?
If you were
What
in that
would be
position,
the biggest fear of a male standing in
Shrinkage.
front of you? No, your biggest fear is getting hard.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that could be a problem. Yeah, that.
Okay, so shall I ask? Did that happen?
I don't know. Hard would be
It
better.
did not happen.
Oh,
And you know how I prevented it from happening?
You
Because
thought,
and you're going to laugh at this, knowing you guys knowing me and what a nerd I am. The moment I took the robe off, I started on September 1st, 1939. And for the next 3 hours, I slow played World War II in my mind.
oh, that'll do it.
From the Nazi invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939, all the way to the second bomb on Nagasaki.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
hysterical.
that'll do it.
I mean, my mind was not there.
Oh my
I
gosh,
didn't
that's so
see
funny.
anybody. I didn't see anything. I was just living World War II in my mind. Isn't that funny?
That is
Yes,
hilarious.
that is great. It's very
But
brave.
I was not going to get hard.
I have never had my clothes off in front of a group of people before, except
3
for
hours?
when I had babies.
Define group.
Like, well, yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, more than just obviously.
If you're gonna have
dog-
like a whole group of people, like meaning 10
Well,
plus.
No, like like
it's a lot
Michael
of
just
people.
did. No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I haven't had my clothes off in any situations like that. You know what I mean? Like I've given birth and there was quite a few people in the room, but other than that, and before that I was super modest. And after you have birth, I'm a little bit less modest. Like but I would have so much anxiety even just going to the gynecologist. But now I'm like, it's not a big deal. But you know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't even imagine. Like, I don't know if you heard in that podcast, Michael, but like, this is the truth. And it's still to this day, I do not change clothes in front of even like my dog. Like I'm super modest. Like
Yeah, I got to tell you, that surprised me.
if the girls were home and they were all hanging out in my room and I needed to put on like a different outfit or different clothes, I would make them turn their heads.
I feel so special though.
And not because I think it's wrong, but because my girls aren't like that. So it's I at least was enough to had enough sense to teach them that this is just me and I'm a weird person, because they're not like that. They'll change in front. I mean, they'll change right in front of me. And I'm not weirded out by it. Like, I'm not like, oh, girls don't change in front of me. I'm not like that. But I just can't for me. And I don't know where that came from. Probably my bringing up.
Probably. But you will in front of me.
Because my girls are super, not modest.
You walk around our bathroom.
No, I mean, I will in front of you. But I'm just saying, anybody other than you,
yeah.
I'm not going to just be like,
yeah,
oh,
the dogs, anybody. Yeah,
it's weird.
It's
I
crazy.
can't. The dogs are just, it creeps me out. I don't want a dog, looking at me and, I don't know. Sorry. Anyway.
Well, I'm the opposite in that I have two daughters who are, I would say, more conservative than me when it comes to sexuality.
Uh-huh.
Now, when it comes to their own sexuality and showing it,
Right.
that's what I mean. Because when it comes to,
Yeah.
LGBTQ, I mean, they are as progressive can be.
Right.
Right.
But for their own selves, I mean, they wear decently modest clothes by today's standards.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably a little bit more European in attitude than they are, which is fine.
Right.
It's like parenting. You do the best that you can. You conscientiously do your absolute best, which there's way too many parents who don't.
Oh,
but you conscientiously do the best job that you can, instill in them a moral and ethical compass, and let them make their own choices.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's just funny how, I don't know, it's just funny how my kids are just so different and like that than I am. I don't know. As far as the modesty goes, I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, but you are involved parents.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
I remember what I said. The biggest, it seems to me, the biggest portion of kids today are growing up being exposed to this stuff without anybody to talk to about it.
Right.
Without anyone saying, look, pornography, yeah, it can be fun, but that's not real. human
No,
connection. That's
no.
not actual intimacy.
No, not at all.
That's not how it's supposed to be in a serious relationship
No.
or with a girl that you like.
Right.
That's not, I mean, instead they're just exposed to pornography.
Right. And then guys think that girls are supposed to be doing that and treat them as such, and it's not really necessarily, you know what I mean?
And girls think that they're supposed to act certain ways.
Exactly. And just like we did that podcast a long time ago, Princesses in Porn or whatever we called it, it touched on that. And then how girls grow up watching, these romance movies and even these like princess movies and stuff, and see these ladies are being treated like royalty and like princesses.
The men don't ever need anything.
It's all romantic and everything, and that's how they think a relationship is. And when it's not like that, they're like, ugh. And it's not like that. It not the way these movies and these, princess movies portray it. Prince Charming, and it just doesn't happen.
Think about Snow White and some of the old Disney movies, and then compare it to Beauty and the Beast.
Well, yeah.
Where Gaston is like the stereotypical, prototypical, although he's a foil of the male.
Right.
And Belle's like, go away.
Right.
You're an idiot.
Right.
Go away.
Right.
So, I think we as a society have become increasingly sensitive to portrayals in movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I just think that a lot of girls these days think that a guy's just going to come in and sweep them off their feet, and it's just going to be so romantic, all that. You know what I'm saying? And so it makes...
And they're not going to expect anything of you. And it's all about you. And
it's so warped. And the same way with the guys, like Michael just said, and watching the porn.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's
women,
just a different
It's
angle.
awful. It's awful. So maybe the Europeans have it right. Maybe
I think
like
it's
that.
being open and having conversations like these, even with your children, like we have. That,
right.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. You got to have the conversations.
Yeah. Well, we have one of our daughters.
And that's where being repressed. That's, by the way, where being repressed is bad. If you are so repressed that you won't have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never spoken to my parents about this stuff.
I wouldn't have spoken to mine either.
Never would have.
I would never have spoken to my parents.
Chance. Isn't that funny?
Which is why I learned so much from Playboy Advisor.
Right, I guess. I understand that. But I would have never, I don't even know. I'm trying to think. I don't think my mom ever talked to me about this.
I remember pushing my dad. I was in a mood one day, and I was older, and I knew what I needed to know, and I was even too old to ask him in this way, but I did. I kept saying one day, I was like, "When are you going to tell me about the birds and the bees, Dad? When are you going to?" And he just looked at me and goes, "You know what it is."
That's the talk. That's the talk you had.
He basically said, "You know what it is. That's enough." He was he was like, "You wouldn't be asking me if you didn't know what it was." So that was
funny.
it. That's the extent of the conversation.
I mean, no offense towards your dad, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And it's
Dad,
it's
I know what it is, even though I'm telling you it's birds and the bees when it has nothing to do with the birds and the bees.
I didn't know what it was. He just knew I knew what sex was, but that's not what sex is. And what I thought it was at 12, that's not what sex is.
Right.
And that's and it's just from his upbringing, pushed down through the church, and the way we viewed it, the way I was taught, the way we looked at sex. It just it creates a lot of issues, and I think that's why we have a lot of issues in the churches.
It's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. Considering that I continue to consider myself practicing Catholic, and I was raised Catholic in Catholic schools. I'm sure that if there were Catholics who would listen to me, they'd say, "No, you're not Catholic." To which my response is, "Okay,
right?
You don't get to choose that."
Well,
that's right.
And that's the same thing with Jeff and I. I mean,
they would probably say
say we aren't Christians.
Well,
you know
they'd
what
probably
I mean?
say the word would be you've backslidden.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, we've backslidden.
Would be what?
Sure.
That you've backslidden. Have you heard that term?
Backslid, yeah.
Yeah, that you've backslidden.
That's
you need
what
to come back and you need to, rededicate your life and clean up the filth, probably. Yeah.
That's what they would say.
I hear things like that, and it just makes me cringe.
Me too. I know.
It just makes me cringe. And unfortunately, in the last year and a half, we've heard too much of that.
Right. I totally
but that's
agree.
again, that's another podcast, and we can.
That's a religion podcast that you and Jeff you guys can
I would love
hammer
to.
out.
I love to talk about that
I
stuff.
don't like talking about that stuff because it makes me too. It just upsets me too much because people are just. I don't know. They annoy me.
We will do that. We will do that when I can actually taste the bourbon.
And I know, God, it better be. I feel like we need to make one of those. Those little ring, like those little. What am I trying to say? Construction paper. You make a ring chain and like you pull it off until you get to Christmas. I feel like we need to make like a 21-day chain and like tear them off and then at the end say, "Okay, now Michael, can you taste
Michael's
anything?"
only got 3 days left. Don't drink the bourbon. We don't taste something else before you waste
terrible.
bourbon.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, last night was not the same. I was like down there, by myself making my old fashioned. I was like, this just isn't right. I
He
feel
made
like I'm
simple
cheating
syrup
on
and
Michael.
everything.
Yeah.
You took a gorgeous picture of it.
I know. Wasn't that a good picture?
It was a very good picture.
I know. I was like, that's nice.
I used that rye, and it was really good. And then I made another one just for fun with Gentleman's Jack, and that was really good.
I told him I took over the budgeting, and I just got on him, and I was like, your bourbon habit is really stretching our budget there, buddy. Nice habit.
Yeah. I'm trying to build the collection.
I know you are.
Michael's kind of
been
a good influence on me in that area.
I know.
Angie,
Yes, sir.
sometimes you just got to let a man do what a man's going to do.
I did. I was just making a statement. He said, I need to know where we're spending the most money. And I had to tell him we're spending the most money on liquor and eating out. So
and
one
I
of
said,
those
other
places,
than liquor, where
no,
we're
you
spending the most money.
didn't. You asked me, and I told you because it's true.
It is.
I didn't tell him to
yeah,
stop. I didn't tell him to stop. I mean, I carry on, but you asked me the question.
It's true.
And you know what the absolute worst is?
What?
The liquor while you're eating out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Dear
you can-
Lord, yes.
You could spend money on 3 drinks,
And have a
3
bottle.
mixed cocktails, 3 old
Right.
fashions,
Right.
for instance, Jeff, and you could get a bottle of Gentleman Jack for what you spend.
Absolutely.
Easily.
But there's something
Probably
about
a
going
better
out to
bourbon.
eat. I need to have a beverage with it.
Yeah, but I can just drink a beer when I'm out. That's not too bad.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, the old fashions
Yeah,
out.
I watch that because I'm like you, Jeff, in that I could just as easily have a bourbon or a bourbon-based drink out, even though it's so expensive, or I could just say, Angie's having a glass of wine, I'll have a glass of wine, or a beer, and it's
Right.
like one third the cost,
Right.
1/2 to 1/3 the cost,
Right.
depending upon what I get.
Right. No, we got.
Yeah.
Just when I go somewhere nice, I usually do have to have some bourbon drink if it's a nice restaurant.
Yeah,
but if
sure.
we're just going out to grab pizza or,
God, when we went to where'd we go to do the cereal tipper challenge? Did we go to Columbus?
we went to Columbus. Yeah,
We went. Remember, we went to that bourbon place and
I
they
sent Michael a
smoked it.
picture of that
They
place.
smoked the bourbon.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the smoked old fashioned, yes. Is that
Yes.
sweet?
It was crazy. So you have
was
to like
really
when
good,
you're
yeah.
somewhere like that, you have to have a special.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go into that bourbon bar and not have a few bourbons.
No, heck no.
And I had to have something off their menu that I've never had. But
Something different. Yeah.
For any of your listeners in Morgantown, the Waterfront Hotel in Morgantown, in the bar they do a smoked old fashioned
Mm-hmm.
that is divine.
Oh well.
Hmm.
Good to know.
It is, and yes, I picked that word for a reason.
Divine.
You hear angels singing with
Do
the
you?
first sip. Yes.
Oh.
Well, somebody sent me a link last night of where you can buy a kit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get, I guess, from that company, different wood.
It's expensive. I looked it up.
You did look it up?
Yeah, it's like $200.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, I just told you we're budgeting.
It'll
It's not in the
just
budget.
keep the link.
That goes under. Yeah. Well, no, I did. I saved
It's,
it, but
and it's but
your
it's a
birthday
smoke
is
kit.
coming up.
That's true.
Jeff's
Birthday
birthday
is
is coming
coming
up,
up.
so we'll see. But
when's your birthday?
May 21st.
well, I say coming up, but like.
Well,
you know.
hold on. My birth date is May 21st, except for to the United States government, it is May 31st.
Isn't that crazy? Somebody jacked up.
I've heard this story. Yeah, I've heard this story.
Yeah, somebody at Social Security office screwed up. I don't know when or how, but all of a sudden one year I went to file my taxes, and they were like, "We can't file your taxes." I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "The birth date's wrong."
I say you celebrate both. I say you celebrate both birthdays. You have to.
You would.
I celebrate the whole month. Nate's birthday's Thursday. He's going to be 13 on April 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, April.
He's going to be a teenager.
He is, and he's acting like one and looking
So I
like one.
probably need to
It's
have
crazy.
some open conversations with him.
Yeah, you should probably.
You know, here, and you guys have experienced this, I know, and certainly you experienced one very recently. Certain things that nobody told you about in parenting classes.
Right.
Parenting classes.
And one of those for me was nobody prepared me for when my younger daughter turned 13 and I no longer had a preteen.
Right.
Like that's it.
It's crazy. Like I never
I was ready to have teenagers. I got that. Everyone talks about that.
Right.
But when your youngest turns 13 and you no longer have a preteen,
yeah,
it's like, oh shit, that's a
know.
milestone in life nobody tells you about or prepares for you.
I haven't thought about it.
It's true. I wasn't prepared to, like, now that you say that and I think about it, I'm like, wow, I don't have like a little kid. Well, I'm going to have another little kid running around, I guess. It's going to come full circle by August, you know. I'll have a few months of not having anybody little and then boom, here we go. We're starting over, even though it's, you know what I mean. But it's crazy.
The other one, when my younger daughter turned 20 and I no longer had a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was another one. Like, all right, nobody told me about this.
Right. It's crazy.
This level, this further state in life. Like I've not heard this. I've not read about it. Like this is really depressing.
I know. Tell me about it. I mean,
But you're gonna experience one before me, which is grandparenthood.
I know. It's unbelievable to think about. Like literally, it's basically April, May, June, July. I mean, like 3.5. I mean, it's gonna be here before we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. Wait.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't.
See, for me, my first question of you is going to be the day after you become an actual grandparent.
Mm-hmm.
When you got out of bed, were there any extra like creaks, groans, aches, pains? Like just overnight suddenly?
Oh, that's too funny. It probably won't be physically for me. It would be more mentally. I feel like, you know what I mean? I don't know, but it is what it is.
It does take another toll on you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Just the stress of worry.
Listen, I feel like I'm pregnant again because, you know, where she obviously has never been pregnant before and she's still on the younger side. You know, and I asked my mom a lot of questions too. I called her a lot as well, but I don't think nearly as much as Brooke does. I mean, I hear everything. So many questions, I don't know how many times a day, you know, she's texting me. Well, and she's having this issue too.
You couldn't text your mom.
No, I couldn't text my mom.
So
but
she
she's
could
having
hide
this
from you.
extra issue as well that is scaring her and we have to deal with. But I told Jeff the other day, I was like, I feel like I'm pregnant, except I don't have any of the symptoms. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but it's kind of reliving it again a little bit, but I don't know.
Well, and this is nothing critical, but she is ensuring that you are living this vicariously.
Right. Right.
Again, not necessarily critical because as given her age, it's scary.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, talk about you lived through the preteen years when girls' bodies started to change and they freaked out and became monsters.
Right.
Monsters.
Guess what? A few days later, or a few years later, in essence, that's what's happening again.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And she's, again, not a critique, but she's very open about it with you. So you're vicariously being brought into it. So I'm not surprised to hear that.
You wouldn't have it any other way.
I wouldn't.
It's really good to have everybody so close.
Yeah. So anyway, well, Michael, thanks for joining us.
Although Jeff, it's going to be weird next after the baby's born, I'm going to come over and I'm going to feel bad about looking at a grandmother's butt.
Don't. It'll be fine.
I may need an extra shot of bourbon. Hopefully I'll taste it by then.
That is going to be weird.
I forget who commented. I'd have to go back and look. When we made the announcement, somebody commented and said, so now instead of a MILF, you're going to be a GILF.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna start calling her Granny.
No, do it and see what happens. Do
We're gonna
it
change
and
the company
see-
name to Granny Fit Co.
No,
We do that.
no, we are not. No,
Just
we are
remember, Angie, you got options. You got options.
I'm treading.
not. Well, Michael, I hope you feel better.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope you feel better, and we'll, if you can't get over here in person relatively quick, then we'll have to do another one of these over the phone.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I still want to hear the haunted story. Which,
the haunted story.
Yeah, we
up
gotta
at
do that.
the Moundsville Penitentiary.
Yeah,
the lock-in
whatever-
overnight.
yeah, whatever it is you said that you did. Yeah, we'll do that soon. We need to do that one soon.
Need
Yeah.
to do that, and you also need to hear about the flight I was on from Chicago to New York City,
Oh.
in which I saw a UFO.
Yes. Okay. We can do those two together, I feel like.
Sure.
Maybe. Or we can start out with one, and if we fall into the other, we do. If not, then it's a whole other podcast.
Those are good. I'm interested.
Oh, I want to hear those. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe this week
Cool.
since you're stuck in.
I'm stuck in spoke to the health department this morning until Thursday morning.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad.
Isolation.
Yeah, maybe Tuesday
No,
night.
10 days.
Okay.
10 days.
And then
assuming
you're
I
no
don't have a
longer
temperature.
then you're no longer contagious.
Correct. As long as I don't have a temperature, it's
Cool.
10 days.
Do they
CDC
retest? Oh, no,
guidelines?
they don't retest you because you're going to test positive for however many months.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
What the studies have now conclusively shown is that after 10 days, while I may still test positive for the virus,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough of it in me to
Right.
infect another.
Okay. Cool. Well, then, yeah. If we don't get around to do another one on the phone, then we'll do one in person maybe next week.
Cool. Look
All right.
forward to it.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Enjoy your evening.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.